All right, I'm gonna try to do like a 5 to 10 minute review on my Rocky Mountain Altitude Coil A30 bike. So just do a quick spec run through. You can kind of dig on the specs online, but let's go through quickly here before I get into my thoughts. RockShox domain, non-series Shimano brakes, so no adjustment, like kind of between Dior, actually a little bit below Dior, but 4-piston both front and back, 11-speed Dior drivetrain. We have Rocky Mountain's in-house Dynamy motor, 108 Newton meters. Fox Marcosi Bomber rear coil, and then RockShox domain, like I was already saying. We have Rocky Mountain cockpit and Rocky Mountain droppers with a WTB saddle, WTB rims as well, and we have Maxxis rubber. And this is kind of the basic Altitude. Only upgrade is the coil, which I do think is nice. Getting into the specifics of this bike, I bought this in 2022, early 2022. It was still like kind of peak COVID pricing. And at that time, this was a good deal for that, around that $8,500 Canadian. It offered lots of value. You got a 730 or 720 watt hour battery. You get the full Dynamy Jumbotron display, which is super nice. Most e-bikes, the base model doesn't come with the nicest controller. And you get like the 4-pot brakes. You could this is like a true mountain spec, where a lot of the lower end ones, you'll be RockShox 35, like gold or silver, and just like a garbage fork or a garbage rear shock, maybe shitty brakes too, but this is dialed, like you're ready to roll on it. I put around 700 kilometers on this bike. It's been reliable. I will note, this is a really powerful motor, and it can be really good if what you're into. Like I find that you really have to put in a lot to get out of like the 108 Newton meters. There's no just easy pedaling on it. You'll find that there's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just freewheeling and I'm going to give it a shot of torque. Sometimes we'll just up the assist level. Here we go. Don't know if you can hear it, but there's a little bit of a delay. So what I think is the reason for that is this has a typical bottom bracket, and then it has a drive idler and then like a torque sensor idler. So from when you torque it, just the way it calculates its torque, there's a little bit of a delay on the time to deliver the power. So it's a little more complicated to clean. It's not that bad. It's been reliable, no issues. I would say that it's one of the less refined motors, or just by feel. It is nice. I would say it's probably the least efficient of like this generation of motors. I find that it chews through battery a lot with the 720 watt hour battery. Getting around, like I'm lucky if I get like 1,000 meters of elevation at full ludicrous mode, where full turbo on other bikes, usually like on a Levo, I'll be getting 1,200 meters. So that's just with my riding style. I don't know if that's just something I'm doing wrong, but yeah, it plows. It basically the same geometry as our normal Altitude, so kind of not a poppy bike, but it definitely just plows. It can handle a lot. 38 mil stanchions on that domain, which is really chunky. The value on it, I would give this in the current market. There's lots of sales going on where you can get this for like 5,000-6,000 Canadian, and at that price point, it's a good value. I regret it a little bit at 85. Now with new bike values coming down, it seems like that's a little bit overpriced, and I think that's why there's so many factory sales going on it. If you pick it up as a deal, you want something that's just planted, smooth. This is your bike. Don't mind putting in a little bit of effort. You don't want to like freewheel. If you want to freewheel and just go up like fire roads, barely putting in any effort, this is not your bike. Even on the max custom settings on this, it is not nearly as assist heavy as other brands. I find that this controller is just a little bit light. Like the button presses are a little bit light. It's not that tactile, so it's something that they could change. The cable integration is nice on this side, but one issue I have with it is like in a lot of the old, well, this is an issue that's been fixed in a lot of new generations. They're using a pretty light gauge wire on their speed sensor, and they aren't tucking it in on the Levos. The wire's actually inside the arm, and you can't, there's really no way to have a branch clip it or anything. Another unique thing about this is it has 3 magnets, 1, 2, 3 on that side, just to compensate for the lack of direct torque sensing, I believe. This lower end one thing Rocky does cheap out on is they give you a 2 amp hour charger, which takes a significant amount of time to charge this battery. So I count on overnight charging. You can get an overtime pack, which is just basically an external battery pack if you want to have longer rides, and you probably need that with the lack of efficiency on this bike. So if you want to do a long ride, that is. Other than that, it's a good bike. I would, I don't know, I'd give it a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. It's competitive. I'd say the motor isn't quite there. If you want a lot of power, it will climb anything if you are able to deliver it. So if that's something you're interested in, it's good at that. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments.